Welcome to Afros and Audio's Black History Month interview series. My name is Talib Jasir, founder and CEO of Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, the first two-day conference for and by Black independent podcast creatives and audio professionals. I'm excited to spotlight 28 outstanding indie podcast creatives who answered the call to be a part of this series. Today, my guest is Julian Smart-Rimple. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, King.
That's what's up, man. How are you today?
Doing well. Here in the ATL, it's a little bit of rainy weather, but we still been staying dry as we can.
Okay. All right. No doubt, man. So tell us about yourself.
I'm originally from Oakland, California. My family heritage is of Trinidadian descent. So big up to all the West Indians and also those who are from the Caribbean. But I currently reside here in Atlanta. I've been mainly working in the education industry for over 12 years now in training and development in K through 12. And even currently now in educational consulting. And literally, I love to inspire. I do motivational speaking, public trainings, conference workshops, you name it. But I always love inspiring, motivating, and engaging with the public and enhancing and allowing all of us to shine bright like the diamond jewel we were created to be.
Definitely, man. Appreciate that. That's great. It's a great reminder. I've met you in person in ATL over the summer at Black Writers Weekend. So that was our first introduction. I'm so happy that we're connected, and then we've been kind of moving in different spaces together, and we'll get into that. But I definitely appreciate your contribution. And it's dope because we are actually just started a Black College Student Initiative for podcasting. And I'd love to talk to you more about that because it's important that the community is who we bring into the opportunities that we have as we move forward. So talk about your podcast, the name of it, when you started, and what's it about.
Absolutely. I started up Run the Jewels podcast show back in 2019, right before the pandemic began. It was a podcast that I wanted to host mainly as an outlet for my business, Smart Jewelz Enterprises, which is an educational consulting business that we started in 2019. And I wanted to interview young professionals and also entrepreneurs that were either millennials or Gen Zers that were basically trailblazing in their career or in their industry. And then also just in allowing those who are entrepreneurs to share with others how they got started with their business and also how they are maintaining their business and continuing to just push past any challenges and anything that may try to take them off course. And we wanted to focus on personal development, financial education, and health and wellness, which all basically boils down to a lifestyle show. And we've been running it ever since in 2019. We're on our 5th season currently right now.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on 5 seasons. That's a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. And one of the problems that we have been attempting to solve is podcast sustainability and making sure that the folks that get started in podcasts are able to continue. How have you been able to maintain and manage the podcast for 5 seasons? Is it support? Is it the passion? What is it for you?
I know originally I wanted to do it to build up a client, a Rolodex or a database. But once I started seeing how much the community of people that I was interviewing were actually opening up new doors for me to learn more about podcasting, about the media and entertainment industry, even about small businesses, I started taking it more serious to actually want to help others and even provide services and even cross-pollinate to partner with others that I was interviewing. And so from there, I literally wanted to take the show international because I love to travel. I've been to Africa, Asia, Central, South America, and I wanted to interview people abroad and especially expats, people of US descent, Canadian, or even from Europe that have transitioned over to the eastern side of the world, and just find out more about their culture, their passion, their purpose, and most importantly, their country. And so I think it was more of a passion project or passion mission that led and spiraled into something great and also something that's still blossoming to this day.
That's amazing, man. I appreciate that perspective because it's important for people to understand that things can start one way and move into different avenues and different opportunities. It's really important to know that. And the only way you don't get the new opportunities is if you stop
Right.
prematurely, right? And so it's really dope that you decided, listen, I did it with a very specific and individualistic need and desire because that's okay too, because you get to go as well, right? And so whatever you need, however you can get it is how you do it. But then expanding in that way and moving it to abroad, and I can only assume you're still interviewing folks from the States as well. But this idea that, wait a minute, like this is mine, I can do with it what I will, and even go beyond. Some people think just like feeling like we can't move out the States, that we can't build a bridge from one place to the next. Talk to me a little bit about that. How has that expanded not only your community, but your podcast and the way in which you approach life, business, what have
I think it was just learning from the ground, because from the ground floor, I've really focused most of my career in teaching and education and literally in training and development and doing workshops and speeches. But podcasting is a different lane. And for all of us who are podcasters or content creators, you really do have to humble yourself and start from the ground up, and learning from people like yourself and others who have been in this game for years, even before the pandemic hit and everyone and their mama wanted to become a podcaster for a week. And I wanted to really just learn from those who are able to do remote podcasts, from those who are able to do studio podcasts. And I was able to come up with our team. The best approach for us was to do a remote podcast where we're streaming interviews with our guests, no matter where they're at in the world. We're able to still stream interview them on a platform called StreamYard that we use currently right now. We started off with Be Live, which is a lower version of streaming that you can also get involved with, but we had to upgrade to StreamYard because StreamYard has more bells and whistles and more stable capability to have sturdy interviews without a lot of static and also a lot of glitches. And that led me to be able to travel and also to be able to interview people in different countries.
What would you say, just based off of the catalog, what would you say have been some of your most eye-opening interviews that you've had so far?
I would say a guest that we had for season 4 last season, she was talking to us. Shamira West is her name. She's actually in, I think, Shanghai, China right now. And during the lockdowns that we've been seeing on the news over the last 2 years, she was actually showing and telling our audience how she's been able to get through the lockdown. As a US citizen of Jamaican descent, she was literally showing us the process of how they have to test every single day. She's an educator and an expat over in China, and literally is having to endure a lot of the politics that China and also even a lot of other governments were going through, and even still to this day. So interviewing guests from China and interviewing guests in Africa, that had been my biggest highlights over the last few seasons, of just seeing how people move in Asia and Africa. I've traveled to both of those continents, but I also want to do more explorations and more just visionary and mission work even in those 2 continents. So I've been able to learn so much just from talking and interviewing with people that actually live there currently.
Yeah, depending on the format of your podcast and especially interviewing other people and not just having it being your own perspective, it definitely is an opportunity to expand that worldview.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's dope. I just wanted to take a moment because you've been saying we, and I want you to shout out your team, if you will.
Absolutely. We definitely have a small but sturdy team that we've been working tirelessly with our StreamYard show over the last 4 seasons. So shout out to one of our co-technical directors, Delta Williams, and also shout out to any of our tech supports. And we do work with freelancers that help us behind the scenes to make the graphics, the flyers, and even to make sure our stream is working at an optimal level when our guests are coming on the show. And so we definitely wanted to give a shout out and big up to our Smart Jewelz Network team that we're still building up from the ground up right now.
Yeah, man, that's important because a lot of times the unsung heroes are the folks that are behind final production. And so I definitely wanted to make sure that if there were some folks to shout out, we get to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. All right. So what would you say, how has podcasting changed your life, changed the way you've done business?
I would say just in meeting people like yourself, honestly, and being at the Writers Weekend that was here in Atlanta last year, and even going to Black Pod Festival here in Atlanta, it opened up my eyes to know that there's people that are making money podcasting. A lot of folks just think because they're watching YouTube podcasters, quote unquote, that are just literally creating YouTube content, that people aren't seriously making serious money off the audio content that they're producing with their podcasts. And that just really took me by surprise, from especially seeing that it's a market that's still growing and still blossoming, and people are able to work in different fields of podcasting similar to mass media that I never knew about, especially meeting and talking to others that I've interviewed, even that are part of Afros and Audio and Black Pod Collective. They've shown me that you can make a career out of this, not even just making money as a content creator, but you could actually have a stable career if you want to work a traditional 9 to 5, or if you want to take a non-traditional remote or hybrid job and working in podcasting. And so sky's really the limit of how much you can learn, as long as you come in as a student and not thinking that you are a teacher, and are open to receive information from veterans like yourself and others who have been in this game for years and are showing other content creators, especially people of color who are content creators like us, to get this money and to also network and build up a brand through podcasting.
Yeah, it's really important that you said that. One of the purposes behind the college initiative that we spoke about, and even in the things that you are mentioning now, is really to make sure that people understand the viability of podcasting, and that it's here to stay, but it takes all of us to keep pushing it forward. It takes all of us to break the mold and the status quo and show the different ways and opportunities that this can be viable and be a career, both entrepreneurially and professionally, if you want to take it to the corporate space. So I'm glad you shared that, because it is important for people to understand that. I think we talk about monetization in a way that is just about, okay, how can I make money off of my downloads and my podcast? And that is one way, but there are other ways, a lot of other ways to have a career and really have podcasting work for you. So I'm glad you shared that. Anything else you want to share about that and what you learned when it comes to you now deciding, like, this is where it's at for me?
Yeah, I would even say, taking it to the basics, that a lot of people think it's more about the visual side of the content for podcasting, because they're used to seeing motivational speakers or influencers on IG, TikTok, or even on Facebook or Meta or YouTube even. But it's really critical to be more concerned with your audio content, the quality of what equipment that you're using. Is it stable enough that if you pass it off to an editor or somebody to chop it up for you to produce a good episode, do you have the equipment to sustain that? And that really opened up my perspective, that it's not about the visual side, it's about the audio quality and how good and how literally the audio sounds to the listener. Because if your audio is terrible and you're saying a whole bunch of jewels, as we call on our show, and you're giving out a lot of good wisdom and a lot of good advice, but people can't hear you, then what's the purpose of having a podcast? And it really opened up my perspective that people that think that they're good motivational speakers or good trainers or good workshop leaders, they think that they can automatically pivot into podcasts, but it's not that easy.
Yeah, podcasting is not the easier medium to get into. It has a lower barrier of entry. The gatekeeping isn't what it may one day turn into. There is opportunity out there, but it is a craft. It is something that you want to work at and do to your standard and your measurement of success. I definitely agree with that. What would you say, Ben, just thinking about 2022, any big wins in 2022 that you want to?
We actually were able to take one of our supporting shows that we're building up with our Smart Jewelz network of like content and shows that we are wanting to produce. with our team. We were able to go on the road, as I mentioned before, and literally travel to El Salvador. We traveled to Dominican. We traveled to New Orleans, and even we're looking to travel to Asia and Africa this year. But we were able to grab content, just like I mentioned before, and interviewing entrepreneurs, interviewing young professionals in these countries so that people can learn about these locations that we're literally traveling to, and also able to learn while we are there, not just party or not just relax and take a vacation, but even on the grounds, being able to stay focused on content creation and also in getting information to bring back to others that may want to travel to these places. And that was probably the biggest win of us really getting ready to launch the Smart Jewelz spinoff for the Run the Jewels podcast that has been going on for the last 4 years. We wanted to take international approach. And so hence we were able to birth out the Smart Jewelz, where we teach people how to travel on a budget and to also be able to travel while serving and teaching others about international communities, cultures, and also just literally their music, their foods, and even different tourist attractions that are in these countries.
That's awesome, man. And I think this goes right into the next question. But if it doesn't, I do want you to take that moment to talk to us about the network, because that's important, because out of one can come many in a lot of ways. And thinking about that, as far as 2023 goals and expansion, is that a part of it? And if there's anything else, feel free to share.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we originally started off with having 3 phases. When we first started the podcast back in 2019, we wanted to basically build up a Rolodex of people who we wanted to not just interview, but that we wanted to partner with and do business with on an international capacity. Because I really do believe that we don't meet certain people just by chance. I think it is a lot to deal with by fate, and having folks that are in the same synergy lane and in the same industry spaces. I don't take that for granted when I'm able to get not just good interviews, but also get a good vibe or even a good depiction of how we can collaborate and help each other win. And we started off by, of course, building up the consistency of doing podcast episodes. We shot over, I think, 150 episodes from 2019 to 2020. And then we wanted to repurpose that content to go into online courses, basically deviating from travel hacks to real estate development or real estate investing to financial education, health and wellness, mainly anything that deals with our 3 core areas of personal development, financial education, and health and wellness. We wanted to create content courses off of that. And then from there, we originally had set out to take the show international and take it remote on the road, to have a remote podcast, a traveling podcast, and leisure podcasts especially. And so now I'm thankful to see that the borders and also the regulations to travel into different countries has subsided, and also loosening up some of the restrictions that we saw during the last 2 years. And the sky is the limit right now, because we've been planning travel groups to take groups that are filled with content creators, groups that are filled with podcasters, groups that are filled with mission-driven individuals that want to go and serve on an international capacity, and literally put together customized or curated group tours or group trips. And so currently right now, we have a group tour that's going to Kenya for this year in 2023 in the fall, to go and basically tour Nairobi, Kenya. We're actually going to Honduras to go to the late and great Dr. Sebi's Usha village to do health and wellness and to really have a wellness retreat. And then we also plan on going to Mexico to do a summit for content creators in Cozumel later this August too. And so I'm excited to really not just content and to grab podcast episodes while we're traveling, but even to bring others with us to show them how to create content on the go, and also to create international content for their business or even for their purpose, for their podcast, for their YouTube channel, for any of the things that they're looking to influence others in. We have Smart Jewelz group tours that are going on right now as I speak.
That's awesome, man. That really is dope. And wow, talk about expansion. That is one of the things, and I say this often, but one of the things I really love about podcasting and audio content is that it can be such a cornerstone of where so many things can be built off of it. And it doesn't have to look one way, and it can be anything. Sky's the limit. And definitely everything you broke down is the sky, man. That's really dope. I really enjoyed that story. And are you connected with Melissa and Molly and Kevin and them over in Kenya with AfriPods and African Podfest?
No, I definitely was looking originally to go to West Africa because I've been to Liberia and I wanted to go to Ghana even before they did the Black Star Line Festival. Shout out to Chance the Rapper and also his partners that put that together recently. But a couple of my comrades and people that I associate with, they wanted to go to the East. And so I was like, we can go to the East, but I love the West because I still got to do some more exploring. So I'm open and willing to network with anybody that is in the motherland, or especially that is a content creator and also a young professional or an entrepreneur.
Okay. All right. Definitely. I'll get you in contact with Molly is the founder of the AfriPods, which they are wanting to be the largest catalog of African podcast content. And they're doing really big things. And then, of course, the African Podfest that was created by Melissa and her co-founder. I can't remember her name in this moment, but they're Molly especially and Kevin, who's the CFO, are all over in Kenya. So I'll definitely connect you with them.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, King.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I'm gonna wrap this up, but I definitely wanted you to talk about anything that you want to promote. You've given a lot, but if there's something specific that you want people to really connect with or be on the lookout for or sign up for, these tours sound amazing, definitely let people know.
Oh, absolutely. So currently right now we have open registration for the Smart Wellness Retreat that is going to be in Honduras in August. I believe it's the 7th through the 11th of this year. We're going to be going and detoxing, cleansing, going alkaline for those who are trying to get on the plant-based or the alkaline diet or regimen. And we're just going to be fellowshipping and relaxing. And so if you are a king or a queen that wants to make your health a high or a top priority this year, definitely go to www.smarttraveljewels.com. That's smarttraveljewels.com to go and sign up for our upcoming wellness retreat. And then you could also see our Kenya tour that's going to be happening in September 2nd through the 13th of this year. And then the dates for our Mexico Prosperity Jewels Content Creators Summit is going to be at the end of August. And so you can stay tuned on smarttraveljewels.com to see what upcoming tours, what upcoming group trips that we have, and even to get some early bird discounts if you're wanting to not go alone, or if you're a solo traveler. We welcome solo travelers and groups or even couples that want to come abroad and actually create content internationally with us. And then Smart Jewelz Enterprises is our educational consulting agency where we work with coaching clients on personal development, financial education, people who are trying to get debt free and get out of debt so that they can build long-term legacies of wealth. And then also health and wellness. You heard me say it's really all about your mind, your body, and also literally your soul that you're nurturing. And so we do believe that it all starts with your health and wellness. And we hope that we can help in any way that you want to plug into our services, along with podcast media essentials for those who are podcasters or content creators, and just to network and just see what synergy or what collaborations we may be able to help each other with. I'm always looking for partners. And I thank you, Talib, for allowing me to come on your platform. And even from the time when we met this summer, I know you're a mover and a shaker, and I know you connect the dots with so many people to network and community build. So I just wanted to appreciate you, King, for allowing me on your platform to share these jewels with you today.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, one last question. You talked about it earlier, repurposing content. And that was the topic of your session with Afros and Audio this year. So I know you were virtual, and I don't know if you got to really attend the conference virtually in any way, but if you can kind of share your experience with the conference, whether it was a lot or a little.
Absolutely. I've still been catching up, to be honest, on all of the virtual sessions that, of course, you guys allowed us to get access to, and just really wanting to study to show myself approved, because I don't believe in just hearing verbally what people who are workshop presenters or even conference speakers are saying, but I actually study and take notes and do follow-ups and go research all of the resources and the plugs that they give out. And so I'm just taking my time, honestly, with looking through all of the sessions. But I know, especially you all are the longest running Black initiative and Black focused initiative for content creators and podcasters. And then, of course, I told you I also went to the Black Pod Festival, but you all are doing phenomenal things in bridging the gap and really showing people from the ground level all the way to more experienced veterans, like why it is important for us to work together and to be cohesively a unit and to support each other, even abroad or even locally or domestically, to help share resources, to help be able to build revenue and finances together of our community being better off than where it started. And I love what y'all are doing. Definitely have met a lot of people that are on your team, from Anna to Latrice, and I believe one or two others that I met before finding out they're a part of the Afros and audio community. Y'all are doing some great work. I definitely will support in any way I can, from sharing and even networking and joining y'all's community too. So thank y'all for what you do.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Happy to have you in any capacity, and definitely looking forward to the work that you are continuing to do, and seeing where we can get in and support and contribute. So let the people know where they can. You gave all the websites and all that sort of thing. Any social media channels that you can provide?
Oh, I'm mainly active on IG, so you can literally go and follow me if you want to catch some jewels. We drop jewels every single week at King Jewelz, Jewelz, King Jewelz Speaks. And then also on Facebook, you could also follow us at King Jewelz Speaks. And I'm very active on those two avenues, and LinkedIn. I forgot to mention LinkedIn. I'm very much so about building with workplace professionals. And so you can literally see and follow our page at Julian Smart-Rimple on LinkedIn.
All right, man. Thank you. If there's anything else that you want to share with the people before I let you go, now is your time. If not, I'll go and close us out.
Oh, no, I just want all of our people, Black and brown, natives alike, whether you're from the motherland, you're from the US, or even from the Caribbean, where my family hails from, we got to work together, you all. We can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to work with others that look like us. And so I just want all of us to be able to shine bright like the bright diamond jewel we were created to be, because we were all given a talent, all given a skill, but it takes sharpening, hopefully what you've heard from today's interview. And you can't be lazy with it. You can't be afraid or fearful of literally putting yourself out there and putting your face out there, like I always say, but you have to start somewhere. And so don't make excuses this year or this season, because life is short. And you don't want to leave any of your talents or your gifts behind. And so take a moment and take a time this year to bet on yourself so that you can truly shine. And so that's all I would leave the people with.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. That's a word. And I'm going to close this out. You stay right there for me, all right? So I want to give a big thanks to our Afros and Audio and Black podcast community for supporting our commitment for community and collaboration. If you'd like to join the Black Podcasters Association, the link will be in the description below. And if you want to join us at the 5th annual Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, visit bit.ly AFAU, which will also be in the description. Follow us on all social media channels at Afros and Audio. And thanks again, Julian, for being a part of Afros and Audio's first ever Black History Month interview series. I really appreciate it, bro.
Absolutely, King. Thank you for what you do, and you have a great rest of the week, man.
Thank you. You too, man.